Okay, in the last two lessons, we talked about finding slope and y-intercept from a graph, from a table, and from two sets of ordered pairs. Today we're going to talk about the last place that you can find slope and y-intercept, and that's from an equation. And believe it or not, that's probably the easiest. After we get past the ways to find slope and y-intercept, we're going to talk about what to do with them and what they mean and what kinds of things you can do once you know the slope and the y-intercept. So the lesson objective for this lesson is that by the end of the lesson, I can find the slope and y-intercept of a line from an equation. Okay, so I have two vocabulary words, and I know that you know them, but we're going to do a quick review. The coefficient is the number in front of the variable. For instance, 3x, the coefficient is 3. The coefficient is always multiplied by the variable. The second word is the constant. The constant is the number that's all by itself in an equation. Okay, so coefficient goes with the letter, constant's all by itself. Okay, so how do I find the slope and y-intercept from an equation? Believe it or not, this is really, really simple. Okay, the slope of the line is the coefficient in front of the variable, the number in front of the variable, and the y-intercept is the constant. All right, so for instance, in this particular equation, 1/4 is the slope. Remember, we call slope m. So 1/4 is the slope, and the y-intercept is -2. Please remember that whatever sign is in front of the slope or the y-intercept, it goes with that number. Okay, so here's another one. Y equals -2/5 x plus 4. The slope is the coefficient, so the slope, or m, equals -2/5, and the y-intercept is +4. We'll talk about what to do with this information and how you can use an equation to graph a line very easily once you know the slope and y-intercept, but right now all I want you to do is be able to pick out the slope and y-intercept from an equation. So in the previous two examples, the slope was a fraction, which tells us rise over run. What happens when there's no coefficient in front of the variable? Well, we always assume that in front of the variable, if there's nothing, it's a 1. Okay? So the slope of y equals x plus 3, the slope is 1. And what that means is 1 over 1, or rise is 1, run is 1. And then the y-intercept for this equation is +3. So what happens when there's a negative x? Well, it's the same thing. When there's a negative x, it means -1. So the slope of this equation is -1, and the y-intercept of the equation is -6. All right, believe it or not, this video is almost over. This is yours to try all by yourself. I want you to find the slope and the y-intercept of this equation and then come back and see if you got it right. All right, let's see how you did. Remember, slope, m stands for slope, and that is 2 because that's the coefficient. And then the y-intercept is -8. Any questions you might have, write them down. We're going to do a bunch of these, and then we're going to take all this information and put it together. Can you look at a graph, a table, and an equation and figure out which ones have the same slope and y-intercept? We'll start working on that after we get done with finding the slope from and y-intercept from an equation.